being here today. Glad to be here. I'm your instructor, Cy. I'm going to share my screen real quick, see if I don't do it better than I have in the past. Okay, let's see here. Perfect. Hi, everybody. Okay, so this is a nutrition class. I am your instructor, Cy. I am, of course, beyond thrilled to be your instructor for this class, nutrition class 1. We'll see how many we do. It kind of depends on what the interest is, but at least one and probably, well, over 2, I would say for sure. But maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Justin and I will see what everyone's thinking about. So if you like it, let us know. If you prefer something else, or if you want some information about something in particular. Obviously, brain health is big on everybody's mind, but please feel free. I'm open to any and all feedback, as Justin I know is as well. Alrighty, so this is a little bit about me. It kind of starts, it's almost in resume format here. So maybe I'll start at the bottom because that was the first thing that started me on my path into nutrition. So I found a book called Eat to Live. I was in the library. It was when I was living in Florida, and it was by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. I totally fell in love with the book. In fact, I copied many, many pages out of the book because I was so interested in what he had to say. At this point, that book is fairly old, like almost 10 years old, but still very, very relevant. And a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon that Dr. Fuhrman talks about here. I have since bought the book. Actually, I look at it frequently. So Eat to Live by Joel Fuhrman. Good guy. Lots of interesting information he has, very based on diet. After finding that book and just loving the concept of food as medicine, I went on Weight Watchers. Actually, when I was in Florida, my doctor's like, you need to lose weight. So I said, okay. And I promptly did. I won't say promptly, actually, it was about a year and a half, a little less than a year and a half. I lost 35 pounds. And so I know I can do it again. I'm actually just joining Weight Watchers again to do it because it worked so good the first time. I know I can do it yet again. So after that time, or in the process actually of losing the weight, I realized I had diverticulitis, which is a common sort of a what we say nutritionally based disease from lack of fiber in your diet. Um, it happens a lot with low fiber diets. I was joking that it's because I have access to cheese sauce. But there's a lot of other things that have bearing on whether your gut and your colon is strong and can take good amounts of fiber or not. I also suspect I have some genetic issues at play here, but nonetheless, have basically cured myself of the diverticulitis up until recently. I hadn't had it for years and years and years, but just recently had another flare up. So it keeps me humble. I was diagnosed with like I say, the undiagnosed illness, but actually after that, I was living in Florida, like I say, and studied nutrition in Tampa, Florida at Hillsborough Community College. At the time, I was on my way to be a dietetic technician. Switched gears when I moved back here in 2019 and studied nutrition at ACHS, American College of Healthcare Sciences. It is an online program focused on holistic learning, but specifically holistic nutrition was what I was interested in. So a little bit of a background for y'all on me. Additionally, I am currently working as a full-time lead at a catering company. We service tech companies in the Seattle and Bellevue areas. A lot of like lunch lady style service there, but I have a long love of food and nutrition and cooking, and I've been in food service for much of my life. So this comes very naturally to me. I'm also a hobbyist. Obviously, I love writing poetry. I got very involved in herbology, gardening, making soap and skincare, painting. I recently have gotten involved in mixed media and epoxy. I'm about ready to make some dice for my Dungeons and Dragons friends out of epoxy. That's pretty fun to do. And of course, health and nutrition are part of that as well. Additionally, I have a wellness coaching business, helping others to become the very best version of themselves that they can be. Currently working towards an ACC accreditation through the International Coaching Federation. That's the big accreditation, first step accreditation for that. And then now have begun teaching classes for Brain Injury Northwest. Yay! So 4 classes in poetry down. Now we have begun sort of a cohort in nutrition, which I'm excited for as well. I've begun that now. What we're going to be covering today in this class, what is nutrition? And then I wanted to give you sort of a basic overview on carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Those are the building blocks of nutrition. Those are actually our macronutrients and make up the bulk of what we eat every day in some factor or another. I also want to give you a little information on the percentages that are recommended by the RDA, recommended daily allowance, to keep us healthy, what works best for our bodies. That's the whole body doesn't necessarily respond specifically to brain, but has a factor in that as well. I'm brushing gently on different diet trends. There are tons now. We could spend a whole class talking about those alone, but I wanted to just talk with you about what some fads are, some trends are that are current right now. And then, of course, how to make heart healthy choices. Lots of things to consider with that. There's lots of advice on how to make heart healthy choices, but these are some basics. Gut health and how it relates to the brain also we'll be covering, and then a 15 to 20 minute question and answer session at the end. If you have questions along the way, feel free to ask. I'm hoping that we can get to all the topics. I have a lot of information here, but if you either we can wait till the end, or if you have something that's pressing, you want to make sure you have your question answered. If I don't know the answer, I will find out the answer for you. I've got no less than 6 books sitting beside me, so if I can't get the answer to you today, within the class time period, then I can find out the information and get it to you next time, if you have anything that hasn't been answered. All right, and with that, we'll begin. Okay, so what is nutrition? I have lots of information, but this is actually, I just looked up Google, and this is what Google told me on this. Nutrition is the study of how food and its substances impact the body's growth and health. It's the process of consuming, absorbing, and using nutrients from food to support life's growth, development, and maintenance. So the human body requires 6 essential nutrients in order to sustain life. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, those are our macronutrients, as I mentioned. And then vitamins and minerals are considered our micronutrients. Those are needed in much smaller quantities than the macronutrients. And then, of course, water, we're all aware, is pretty important for life as well. So carbs, proteins, and fats, that's what we're going to focus on next. I hope I don't bore you too much, but here's some good kind of basic overview on each of those. I go a little bit deep on it, but that's just to help you understand what is what and where it comes from. Okay, so we're going to start with carbohydrates. Those are the most readily produced energy within the body. Carbo meaning carbon, and hydrate meaning water. That refers to the molecular structure of carbohydrates. They produce much of the body's energy and, in fact, is the preferred fuel of the body. It's going to go for carbs first before it goes for fats or proteins, as far as pulling energy and giving us energy for our daily needs. So carbohydrates is kind of a big group. There's a lot of information about all of this, but I'm going to keep it as simple as possible here. Uh, Carbs are the sugars, the starches, and the fibers. 6 sugars are important in nutrition. As a brief overview, I'll just let you know it's monosaccharides and disaccharides, which are the single sugar units. And simple sugars is what they're known as. And then polysaccharides, as well as glycogen, starches, and fibers make up the rest of the sugars that are important for nutrition. Like I say, the mono and disaccharides are the simple sugars for us. Monosaccharides are glucose, fructose, and galactose. Galactose we won't talk too much about. That's kind of an advanced piece, but part of the lactose molecule. But glucose we have been familiar with maybe for a while. That's blood sugar. That's what sugar looks like within your blood. Sometimes doctors take your blood and they want to know how much sugar is in it. That is your glucose. At my age, they often ask for you to come in with a fasting so that they can take your blood sugar. They want to know what your resting, basically, blood sugar is within your body. Another simple sugar is fructose, which is all sugars that are found in fruits, fruits of any type. And then more on carbohydrates, disaccharides, again, part of the simple sugars. Sucrose, lactose, and maltose. Sucrose, you may know, is table sugar. What you may not know is not only is it cane sugar, but more frequently these days, beet sugar. That's your white granular sugar that you put maybe in your coffee in the morning. That's sucrose. Lactose is a milk sugar. It is a carbohydrate, and in fact, the principal carbohydrate of milk. And then maltose, which we won't talk too much about today, that is a malt sugar. It is produced, synthesized, as they say, within the body, but also can be found in beverages. You've heard of malts. They used to do them back in the I think the 20s. That's malt sugar is the base of malt, like shakes. Getting a little bit deeper here, polysaccharides. Those are big, long chains of sugar units, so longer and bigger than the disaccharides and the monosaccharides. That includes glycogen, starch, and fibers. Highly branched chains of glucose. That's what glycogen is. It's a type of sugar that is actually in the muscles of all animals, including humans. It's not really a source of nutrition, but it is worth mentioning here on account of it is a type of carbohydrate. It's also found in the liver, and a fun fact about that, glycogen is cannot be consumed easily in another animal. It does exist in all muscles of animals, but you have to eat the animal right away in order to access the glycogen. That's not usually the case, at least not here in America. Okay, just a little bit more information on carbs here. Starch is long, grain, straight or branched chains of hundreds or even thousands of glucose or sugar units. Starches are rice, wheat, yams, potatoes, peas, and beans. So when a person eats a plant that has starch, rice or wheat or whichever it might be, The body actually breaks it down into its kind of components, glucose units, and then uses the glucose itself. So basically breaks it down into sugars for the body to use. Grains are the richest food source of starch. Okay, a little bit of talk about fiber. Dietary fibers are the structural parts of plants. They're found in all types of plants, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes, which are peas and beans. Dietary fibers also have glucose, but mostly cannot be broken down by the human body. The real fibrous stuff, we can't break the bonds with our digestion in order to access the glucose in some fibers. So even though these starches may escape digestion, they are very important. Also whole grains, which are grains food made with grains that have all or parts of the grain, such as the bran and the endosperm. That's the parts that are frequently shaved off of grains. And this here is a picture of a rice grain, just to kind of more properly illustrate what we were speaking of. So the outside part, like this, let's see, this part here, that would be considered the chaff. That is very frequently removed and considered inedible, but also with the rice hull protects the grains themselves. This brown layer in the middle here is bran. You may have heard about wheat bran or rice bran. That's what this is. That is a very nutritious part of the rice. That is what is left on when you're having brown rice, but removed or scraped or milled off when they create white rice. Of course, the white rice is just the endosperm here. That's straight carbohydrate. If you think about it, this is what causes maybe like a blood sugar spike. If you've got the brown rice, then I don't know if y'all can see me, but the blood sugar will spike if you're having white rice and then come straight down like a volcano, a pretty steep mountain. But if you're having brown rice, then what happens with your blood sugar is it comes up and levels out and then goes back down. Just for a little background information. The germ is also a very good part to eat nutritionally of grains, rice grain as well as wheat or any other grain. Okay, a little bit more on the carbs. So resistant starches, they resist digestion due to a number of reasons. Mostly the physical properties of the food or the fiber itself, and then of course an individual's specific digestive capabilities. We're all a little bit different. Some of us digest starches or dairy or anything else differently than others. So kind of an individualized thought there. So foods with resistant starches are raw grains, unripe bananas, raw potatoes, and then peas and beans, also known as legumes. Resistant starches can help to support a healthy colon, very important in nutrition. Other types of fibers we'll just talk about briefly here. Cellulose, which gives their cell walls their shape. It's in many fruits and vegetables and beans and peas. Soluble fibers, such as oats is a good example, barley, beans, and peas. They're also good for gut fermentation, which is very important. Helps with digestion and microbiome in the gut. And then insoluble fibers, which do not form gels. If you think about oatmeal, kind of gets sort of gummy or mucilaginous. That is what happens with soluble fibers. Insoluble fibers do not form gels and then do not ferment as easily. Frequently pass out just as they went in, if you know what I mean. All righty. Let's talk a little bit about lipids. So lipids are fats. Molecularly speaking, it is a glycerol head with 3 fatty acids attached. They are a more prolonged energy source than carbohydrates for our bodies. They are used in times of food deprivation or if you're doing an intense workout. In cases like that, you have used up your carbohydrates, your sugars that were available, and then it moves into the fats to draw energy from. The fat stored in our fat cells supplies about 60% of the ongoing energy needs during our resting periods. So this is not while we're working out as much as it is resting that we pull from that. It is the body's primary form of stored energy, unlike the carbohydrates, which are sort of more readily available and pulled from the digestion. We have, as you're aware, nearly unlimited capacity to store fat in our bodies. When it's in our bodies, we call it adipose tissue. Not all bad. It actually protects our vital organs from damage. For example, there's a cushion of fat underneath our kidneys that protects us from, say, you're on a motorcycle and you hit a bump. There's a cushion of fat there to protect you from hurting yourself, that organ, your kidney. They also protect from extreme temperatures and are a major component of our cells. Side note, the adipose tissue also secretes hormones that can regulate the appetite and also influence other body functions. Leptin and ghrelin are 2 of the hormones that are influenced by adipose tissue. One which teaches you or gives you signs about how full you are. The other one that can give you more information about how hungry you are in a nutshell. So here's a picture of some fats. These are some healthy fats. You'll see lots of nuts here. Walnuts are fantastic. Almonds. Salmon is a fantastic lipid. Lots of good fish fat there, fish oil. Avocados are well known. This is probably canola oil in the background. Olive oil. Those are pepitas in the front. Those are very good for you, have really good fats. So this is a little bit of what I was speaking about earlier. This is a glycerol head with 3 fatty acids attached. This is what fats look like on a molecular scale. So saturated fats, which are nearly all solid at room temperature. These include bacon fat, lard, butter, steak fat. These are high in what's known as the LDL or the bad fats. Saturated fats are the kind of fats you don't want to ingest too much of. They're the delicious ones. Those are butter and bacon and all that good stuff. The unsaturated fats, which are healthier and are found in a lot more diets. Mediterranean diet uses olive oil, a bunch. A lot of indigenous foods to different areas have a good unsaturated fat that is the basis of their foods. So avocado oil, vegetable oil, those are high in HDL, which is the good kind of fat. We'll talk briefly about trans fatty acids here. They are artificially created for many purposes, but also a little bit is found in naturally occurring in animals and also dairy products. But they are artificially created like in a lab for processes like hydrogenation. Hydrogenation actually turns one of these kind of wiggly lines on its side and then turns it over and puts a new hydrogen molecule like here, which causes a break. The reason that's good is it helps with rancidity of oils. So think about how you don't have to put a Hostess cupcake in the fridge. Those fats that are in that can last forever. They're shelf stable. That's because those are hydrogenated. They've been given an extra hydrogen molecule which makes them more shelf stable. They're also in desserts, fried foods. They are not good for you. In short, they have a negative effect on fats in the blood or your blood lipid. A couple good fats here, linoleic acid and linolenic acid. Linoleic is a omega-6 fatty acid. Vegetable oils, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and actually I just learned poultry fat has linoleic acid in it, all important. Good for heart disease. Linolenic as well, omega-3s, that's fish oil. There's two particular kinds of, it's a sort of a subcategory of omega-3s, EPA and DHA, which encompasses fish oil, and then also flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, canola oil, hemp, soybeans, and then also some of our leafy green vegetables are high in linolenic acid. Again, those protect against heart disease. Okay. Fun fact, or maybe not, cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of adults in the United States. That's pretty big. The #1 killer of adults in the United States over everything. What can lower the risk of heart disease for us and cardiovascular disease, as it's also known, is diets low in saturated fats and trans fats. Again, those are the trans fatty acids. Real briefly about obesity, which is calculated with a BMI calculator. It is a serious risk to health in a number of ways. It can cause a higher risk of cancer, heart disease, and a whole bunch of other diseases as well. And is the focus for, and has been for years, the focus of a lot of research. Pardon me. So BMI, if you are underweight, would be under a BMI of 18.5. Healthy weight would be at 18.5 to 24.9. Overweight is 25.0 to 29.9. And then obese is 30, a BMI of 30 or greater. Something else I learned while researching specifically for this is that it's not the cholesterol in food that we need to be concerned about with our blood cholesterol, but rather the added fats. So less so the fat on your steak needs to be a concern, and more so how much butter or olive oil we're adding to a pan, maybe when we're sauteing a vegetable. Those are more what raises the blood cholesterol, probably because of sheer amount of oil. Alrighty, so proteins. Here's some example of proteins here in the corner. Lots of options here. Lots of variety, also pretty complex as far as structure and function as compared to the lipids and the carbohydrates. Proteins really in the body translate to amino acids. They are the building blocks of protein, and actually what protein gets broken down into as we eat it. Amino means literally containing nitrogen. So they're talking again about what's happening on a molecular level with proteins. The important part to know about proteins is the amino acids that we cannot synthesize or cannot make in our body, which must be found in food. There are 9 of them, and there are 12 that are not essential that your body can create. Proteins, as far as what they do to in your body, they help your blood clot, they facilitate chemical reactions. They create the structure of the body, including cartilage, bones, muscles, skin, and blood, and then also, very importantly, build and repair living tissue within the body. When proteins are eaten, they break into amino acids in the body. The cool thing is some of them are continuously recycled. We eat them, we create new ones. Our body recycles some of the ones that we've used and turns them into other amino acids if all of the right ingredients are there for that. Also of interest is that most of the protein in our bodies, is stored in the muscles. Again, 12 non-essential amino acids that the body can make, and 9 essential amino acids which the body cannot make and needs to find in the diet. Histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Those are the 12 essential amino acids. Another fun fact, there's only one food that has all of the 9 essential amino acids in it. That is couscous. I'm sorry. Why do I always say that? It's not couscous, it's quinoa. Is the only food that has all 9 of the essential amino acids. Hang on one second. Fix that. Let's finish with that. Oops, going backwards again. Slideshow. I'm giving away all my cards here. Okay, we'll go about this way. Okay. I see some of you have questions. Let me get through a couple more slides and then we'll talk about that. Okay. Protein turnover, the continuous breakdown and creation of proteins within the body. It's kind of what that's called. Okay. Alrighty, these are also kind of a summary of the main protein functions. Acid-base balance, so keeps our acids and our bases in our body balanced, and often act as buffers, so from cell to cell as needed. Antibodies, so it can deactivate disease-causing agents, so we're talking about immunity here. Creates structural components, creates the skin, bones, and tendons. Also facilitates many of the body's processes. The word for that is enzymes. Those are catalysts within the body. Energy and glucose. Some proteins can create fuel and even glucose, which is blood sugar, for the body for use as energy. Fluid and electrolyte balance, again, sort of similar to the acid-base balance here. And we maintain the composition and distribution of body fluids through that. Also, some proteins, some hormones are proteins and act to regulate body processes. And then finally, as transporters, they do occasionally transport vitamins, minerals, lipids, and oxygens throughout the body as well. Okay, so we've talked a lot about fats, carbohydrates, and proteins here. This is what is recommended in general by the RDA, or the recommended daily allowances. I just made it simple, so this is just for adults 18 to 50. The needs go down slightly past 50 years old for much of this. So males, carbohydrates are at optimum at 130 grams a day, right abouts. The fats that are in the RDA are not regular fats, but are rather the good fats for you. So the linoleic and then the linolenic. Linoleic, you need about 16 to 17 grams a day, and the linolenic, 1.6 grams a day. Proteins for men, 52 to 56 grams a day are recommended, and 38 grams of fiber a day are recommended. Those are harder to reach than you might think, actually. For females, carbohydrates, again, 130 grams a day there. Linoleic is 11 to 12 grams a day for fats. Linoleic, I apologize, 11 to 12 grams a day. Linoleic is 1.1 grams a day. Proteins are 46 grams a day, and then fiber is also 38 grams a day. Like I say, no current RDAs for the other types of fat, as in we don't need butter. It's not a recommended daily allowance to have butter or bacon fat in our diet, sadly. Okay. So now we're to the part where we're talking about diet choices and what exactly we should be eating. So every body is different, taking into account our dislikes as well as allergies and intolerances and what gives us personally inflammation, is very different from person to person. But what shall we eat? They ask. I did look up what a couple different people are saying. Michael Pollan, who's written a lot of books, says, and I quote, "Eat food, not too much, mostly plants." That's in the beginning of his book, In Defense of Food. Great book, by the way, if you're looking for some information on nutrition. Dr. Joel Furman, he's the one I spoke about much earlier in his book, Eat to Live, mentions that we ought to derive about just 10% of our dietary intake from non-plant-based sources in order to avoid virtually all types of diseases, he says. That includes cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and a host of other diseases that can be cured by diet alone and eating plant-based sources by and large. He also says that the reason that meats are not good in higher doses is due to the toxic stress that puts on our bodies. There's a lot of toxins that come along with eating meats, all the antibiotics, anything that those animals are eating, we are also ingesting in some form or another. So dangerous in higher doses. Weight Watchers talks a lot about how you can have all the fruits and vegetables and lean meats that you want for no points. And that what costs points is the carbohydrates like rice and noodles and the oil that we cook our foods in. Noom and the other weight loss apps are similar in this way. I recently just switched from Better Up to Weight Watchers. I'm familiar with Weight Watchers just a little bit more, but they're all really good. If you're looking to lose weight or just monitor what you're eating. So you may see a little bit of a theme in what I'm speaking about here. Heavily plant-based diets, among all of what I just mentioned, are recommended. It's a great place to begin or even continue your nutrition journey, but other strong recommendations on what to eat are nutrient-dense foods. Over all of your food groups, the most nutrient-dense foods will keep your caloric load down while keeping your nutrition high. That is the goal. In many cases, that's your goal. Consuming less solid fats. One good thing to do is if you're making, say you're making a soup or a sauce that may have some meat component in it, you can put it in the fridge. All the fat rises to the top of your soup or your sauce. And then once you get it cooled, you can just take it right off and throw it in the trash and then basically remove all or many of the saturated fats from your dish. Of course, smaller portions are always recommended. One thing I would love to urge people to do is check the nutrition facts on the back of their food packaging. Also of note is paying attention to your serving size. I don't know why they decided Skittles was 2 servings, but that's just rude. Um, there's a lot of foods that you'll find are like that. And here you are thinking of eating a full candy bar is so and so amount of fats and sugars, but in fact can be even more because they're expecting you to cut whatever it is into half. So good to check your serving sizes with that. Choosing whole grains and breads over non-whole grains and breads is recommended. Again, that's good for your blood sugar, and there's lots of nutrition in the outside parts of your grains that you're not otherwise getting. One of my favorite tips is to try different flavorings other than oils. When cooking, you can do spices, you can do herbs. I love lemon and lime zest and lemon and lime juice. Those are really wonderful, especially for meats. Broth is fantastic. Homemade broth is even better than store-bought. Wine is fantastic. Sometimes we deglaze our pans with wine that can give a really nice flavor to foods. If you're a pizza lover like I am, you can have pizzas with lots of veggies, then you're not feeling like you're depriving yourself. You're getting lots of vegetables while also having a favorite food. If you're eating meats, trimming the fat from that can reduce your saturated fats. And buying a heart healthy cookbook is a great way to start your nutrition journey. You'd be surprised how many really delicious meals are heart healthy. One of my favorite soups is something I found years ago in Weight Watchers. It's fantastic. I choose it even if I'm not trying to watch my oils and fats. Using Pam spray, that's what I've been doing a lot lately. That is not a hydrogenated oil, which is good news, but is good. You're just getting a small amount, just enough kind of to coat your foods and not saturate your food. And then something else I've been doing a lot lately, fruits for dessert. Last night I had some mandarin oranges for dessert. Kind of satisfied my sweet tooth. So here's some pictures of some really good foods to eat. This, as you see, is sort of like eating the rainbow here. There's lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. There's some nuts and seeds. I see chia seeds. I see some roots. There's turmeric over here in the corner. Watercress, lentils, garlic, parsley, all kinds of really great things that will keep you going, keep you healthy, including brain. Which brings me to the brain health part. How to optimize our brains. The guy that I really look up to as far as brain health, his name is Dr. Daniel Amen. He did a TED Talk a long time ago, and actually where I saw him was on PBS, and I think he was just putting out a book and was talking about brain health and some of the foods that were really good that would help with your brain health. A lot of what he's talking about here is eating the rainbow. But this will keep our brains healthy, traumatic brain injury or not, just healthy brains in general. Fish oil, green tea, and then a host of fresh fruits and vegetables, including, but not limited to, strawberries, cherries, raspberries, red peppers, tomatoes. Those are the red foods. Peaches, yellow squash, yellow peppers. Those are and bananas are the yellow foods that he would recommend. Blueberries for blue, plums for purple, tangerines, oranges, yams. Those are our orange foods, very important. And then for green, broccoli, spinach, and then beans and peas. There's also there is a list of references at the end, but this is the YouTube video that I was speaking of, where he talks about the brain and what foods are good for you and how to take care of our brains. Okay, one other important note here, gut health. It is said that our guts are our second brain. It communicates back and forth with your actual brain and is in connection in two ways. Physically, so the vagus nerve, which is the gut's direct connection to the brain. It gives messages back and forth to the gut, as well as to the other vital organs, such as the heart, lungs. And then chemically also connects with the brain through chemicals, neurotransmitters, and hormones that can send messages back and forth from the gut to the brain. Chemical messages that get passed can be affected by the bacteria, viruses, and fungi that live in the gut, also known as the gut microbiome. The bacteria, viruses, and fungi that live here in the gut may be beneficial or harmless or even harmful. Okay. So these are foods that are good for your gut health. Probiotics, prebiotics, and then also eating a balanced diet, which are carbs, fats, and proteins in the amounts that will be listed in a moment here. Foods with live cultures are probiotics, so that includes a host of things: yogurt, sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi. These are a lot of the popular ones here. Those are super good for your digestion. Those deposit the good bacteria directly into your gut. Prebiotics do sort of the same thing, but they help your body to create the bacteria itself. The results are equally as good. Prebiotics include fruits and vegetables such as berries, asparagus, onions and garlic. Apricots are very high in prebiotics, a host of other fruits and vegetables. But they produce these probiotic bacteria on their own. Okay. So here's some pictures here. I just wanted to sort of show you how our vagus nerve goes back and forth between the gut and the brain. That's the nerve there in yellow. The brain interprets messages and creates the mood. A lot of what the gut bacteria do is influencing mood, sleep, focus, and of course, serotonin. Just to give you a little bit of a picture of what's happening there. There we go. Gut-brain axis. So it influences our mood, our behavior, stress, and anxiety, and influences our neurotransmitters within the body as well. And can influence our weight gain, our bowel movements, nutrient delivery, and microbial balance. So much is about the microbial balance as far as that goes. Alrighty, so that was the bulk of what I had to talk with you about. Here are some references. Here's where I got a lot of the information here. If you're interested in these slides and would like this information at the end, we can make, I think Justin and I can make sure that these get sent to you. These are, so I used a textbook of mine from a long time ago that has a lot of really great information. That's the bulk of where I got my information, but Eat to Live, and then Poland's In Defense of Food were also things I referenced for this. But this is like the BMI calculator, gut-brain connection, a guide to healthy eating. There's a lot of good info here, including the Daniel Amen YouTube at the bottom there. And with that, I know we have just about 8 minutes or so left in our hour. I'd